What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for December 16th, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Saturday edition, a surprisingly big Saturday edition, so let's get right into it. Let's start as we always do and recap our question of the day. And no surprise real here, the most annoying narrative about Philly sports fans with like 80% of the vote was the whole snowballs at Santa. I don't know if that's because, one, it's super, super annoying, which it is, or just because it was the anniversary. But either way, I'm sure we're going to hear about it. Yesterday was the 55th anniversary. I'm sure we're going to hear about it for the next 55 years as well. But thank you, as always, for everyone who reached out and participated. More on today's question of the day later in the show. Be sure to call, leave your voicemail, text, whatever you want to do on the voice and text line. Still working on a better name for that, but that's 267-495-8531. 267-495-8531. Have your voice heard. Send a voicemail, text message, whatever, to get that in. Yesterday, we wrapped up our gift and food drive for the Maddie and Dixon community cupboard in Ambler. We dropped off the food. The kids were ecstatic. My buddy brought his kids over. They were doing the reverse advent calendar. It's a good experience for the kids. It was very humbling for me as well, just to see just the support. They were grateful for the donations and said thank you. Make sure you let everyone know. We will be doing something again next year. Going to start it a little earlier and hopefully make it bigger. But thank you to everyone who reached out. And don't forget about them after the holidays are over. They do accept donations all throughout the year. You can go right to their website and donate cash if that's easier for you. They're always looking for that for their perishable foods. But I'm truly, truly grateful for all of you and all the support you guys gave me over the course of the last few weeks as we're getting this up and running. I appreciate it, and we're going to make it even bigger next year. All right, our 25 Days of Kindness continues, though. And today is a simple one. Might be too late for you now, but maybe tomorrow, let your spouse sleep in. A very simple thing. Get up, take care of the kids, whatever you have to do. But that's an easy one. So that's our 25 Days of Kindness for today. All right, lots of Sixers news. And I guess the big story, other than the game, was they extended Daryl Morey's contract through the 27-28 season. And there was mixed reviews on that. I don't mind it because of one reason. He did the trade now and got all of the assets for James Harden. So now you got to at least let him finish that out. And I do think the fact that take away, like if you take a step back and look at it, the fact that he was able to get rid of Ben Simmons for anything, let alone James Harden. And I don't necessarily think it was his fault the James Harden thing didn't fall out or work out. And they had their fallout because if you think about it, and I've said it all through the summer, this is James Harden's MO. You just didn't think he was going to do it to someone who he was that close with as Daryl Morey. So I don't blame him for the Harden situation. And whether or not there was a promise and he's a liar, this, that, I don't know. But to me, if it was a one-off situation, I might take Harden's side. But that was the fourth time he did it. So I think at this point, you see what you can do. I mean, they have a ton of pieces to make this team better. They were talking about, I mean, the fact that Nick Nurse runs a 10-man bench, and typically he'd probably want to get that to like 7 or 8. You have some pieces that are expendable that could help make your team better. So I think you give him time to work this thing out. However, I think this contract, though, is sort of that takes you closer to the end of Joe's career. And I think this is the last shot with the Sixers for Daryl Morey as they're set up, and want to see what he's able to do and how he's able to work that. But I like I said, I don't mind it. Let him finish the job, and then we'll kind of go from there. John Kruk was in the house. He rang the bell yesterday, and then they had him doing some commentary, making him work a little overtime. But I got to say, I mean, he has a basketball background when he was in West Virginia, but it wasn't too bad doing the commentating and playing off of Ala and Kate. So, and I know Kate gets a lot of she just gets a lot of hate, and I actually like her. I like her. I was a big Zoom Off fan, but I don't hate it as much as everybody else does. So it's just kind of one of those things. Let's back off on Kate there for a little bit. But Kruk, like I said, if they had him working a little overtime and doing some games throughout the season and the off season, I would not mind it. Like the camaraderie, I guess the chemistry between him, Kate, and Ala was very good. So I thought that was, and I mean, he was very insightful about some things too. So I like that. Joe had another amazing game, 30-10 for the 9th straight game. I think they said that was a team record as they won 124-92. Just dominated Detroit, and Detroit's the worst team in the league right now. So, and I keep going back to this, but the fact that they're part of it is they might be a little bit better too. I'll kind of throw Doc the bone there, but these are games that they would lose. Like, it's just you scratch your head sometimes when Doc was here. Like, they would come out and like blow, the one they beat Milwaukee and then came back and lost it. So like the fact that they're not only winning these games, but winning in dominant fashion the way they're supposed to, I think is a testament to Nick Nurse. So we'll leave it at that. And I will say, because if you go on Twitter, everybody bitches and complains that, oh, Joe flops, Joe draws fouls. If he didn't hit his foul shots, he wouldn't be that good. And I can kind of see that point, but then at the same time, that's part of the game. Think about Allen Iverson. A lot of the times when Iverson was averaging 30 points a game, he was getting to the foul line a lot. So, like, the games that the Sixers struggled back with Allen Iverson were games he didn't get to the foul line. Same thing with Joe. And, I mean, I get it. It's frustrating, but I think it's part of the game. And I think Joe is so good. There were so many times, like the one time with the three-pointer, like it's like he sees it and senses what the guy's going to do, and he just quick went and shot, got hit, and shot the three foul shots. Like, it's just amazing watching him do it. I think we need to enjoy this. And again, it's up to you, Daryl. Put a team around him. Let's make a run at this thing. They're in action tonight down in Charlotte. And I would imagine Joe and everybody's going to play because they sat out most of the third quarter, which sucks because I had a same-game parlay bet on him, Maxey, and Tobias to be over their points, rebounds, and assists total. And I was well on my way, trending that way. And all I needed was Detroit to score a couple baskets and leave them in. But when they set out the whole fourth quarter, you kind of get the short end of the stick. Flyers at home tonight against Detroit. They're looking to stay hot. They have a 7-game point scoring streak. They're 5-0-2 in their last 7. Hopefully they're able to keep that rolling against Detroit and stay hot. And again, like the whole NHL world now is starting to take notice of them. They might be a little bit better than what we had thought. And I told you, get in on the ground floor with them. All right, Eagles news. And the big news yesterday was the whole Jalen Hurts falling on the ground fumble drill. A lot of people were pushing back, saying it's embarrassing. It's high school of Nick Sirianni. And I don't know, man. I mean, how many times has Jalen fumbled? I mean, even going back to the Super Bowl, even though he wasn't hit, that was just he plain dropped it. I mean, even if it's a Mickey Mouse drill, you're sending a message to your franchise quarterback that this is unacceptable. You need to get your shit together. And it is what it is. Like, there was film of it and whatever, but I mean, you got to do what's best. So and Jalen's the kind of guy that's going to get motivated by something like that, and I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I mean, he's fumbling the ball when he falls, so maybe he does need to learn how to fall while guys are hitting him and the ball's being tugged. I don't know. I don't have a problem with it, and And this is not, Jalen didn't say anything about this. This is other people talking about it. But if Jalen's feelings are hurt by it, good. Don't fumble the ball. And again, like, I'm equal opportunity. I love Jalen, but listen, he's fumbling the ball. So send a message some way. So maybe he either does need the practice on it, or it's sending a message that, like, dude, you are a franchise quarterback making how many ever millions of dollars. Get it together. So I don't have a problem with it. But that leads us to today's question of the day. And if you want to see what I'm talking about, you can do a quick Google search. If you don't know, Jalen Hurts fumble drill at practice yesterday. But let me know, is it wrong for Sirianni to make Jalen Hurts go through that as the franchise quarterback? Let me know. Hit me up on the text and voice line, 267-495-8531, 267-495-8531. Is it wrong that Sirianni made Jalen Hurts do the falling drill like that? I don't think so. I think one of two things. Either hopefully he's going to send a message that it's unacceptable that you need to hold on to the ball, or two, he legitimately needs to practice how to do it. So let me know, 267-495-8531. Leave a voicemail, send a text message, whatever you got to do. Let me know what you think about Sirianni making Jalen Hurts do that fumble drill. All right, and I'll preface this because I saw him clap back at some people, and I did not listen to the whole thing. However, the clip of Darius Slay, I guess, on his podcast, where this is his exact quote, saying that he had a solid game when they were talking about the trash cans and this, that. He didn't have a problem with the trash cans, but he was like, of all days, to put a trash can out there when I played a damn near perfect game, of course, I could have made more plays, but overall, the game was great by me. But as a team, we ain't played worth a shit. Excuse me? Nobody cares. Great, you played a damn near perfect game. What about your teammates? So, that irritates me, and I don't care the context or whatever. Like, nobody cares that you played a damn near perfect game. What was the final score of that game? Okay? What was the final score of the San Francisco game? I don't care how well you played. And you're damn right. The team ain't played worth a shit. However, I don't care that you played well. Because at the end of the day, that's all for you. And that just kind of, to me, shows a little bit of true colors. And I know it's a different NFL, but it's a team game. The fact that you're out there like chirping about how great you played, I told you this before. You have that C on your chest. Make your teammates better. Okay? So you played a perfect game. I didn't necessarily see you following CD Lamb across the field the other day. Like, if you're that good, get off of Brandon Cooks and follow CD Lamb wherever he goes. Then we'll see if you play a damn near perfect game. If you just shut down CD Lamb and play a damn near perfect game, maybe we're having a little bit of a different discussion. Yeah, I know there were other issues in that game besides CD Lamb, but I'm just saying, I didn't necessarily see you following him around. So before you start chirping about how well you did, take a step back, dude, and look at what it means for the team. And you said it. We ain't played worth a shit. No, you haven't. So it doesn't matter how good you played. You ain't played worth a shit if your team is getting blown out like that, Mr. Slay. No changes on the injury front. The aforementioned Darius Slay, Zach Cunningham, Cam Jurgens did not practice yesterday. Again, because it's a Monday night game, I'm not concerned about that yet. Reed Blankenship was limited in practice as he's trying to fight through the concussion protocol. We should get a better sense, I think, of what's going to happen later today at practice, just because the whole practice schedule is mixed up this week, because then Sirianni also did a couple different things that way. But that's enough for the Eagles for right now. But again, let me know for the question of the day what you think about Sirianni making Hurts do that fumble drill. 267-495-8531 to get through on the text and the voice line. And give me an idea for a good name for that too, instead of the voice and text line. But let me know. And then Slay, come on, man. Just, I can't. Just come on. All right. Yesterday was the anniversary of us throwing snowballs at Santa. Philly Goat, of course, has you covered with that. Go to phillygoat.com. You can get your Franklin Field Snowballs at Santa t-shirt or hoodie or sweatshirt. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. It's a great shirt. I had a couple of my buddies send me text messages reminding me just to make sure I mentioned it yesterday because of the shirt. So go to phillygoat.com. Use that promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order and get your Snowballs at Santa at Franklin Field shirt. That's phillygoat.com, promo code Jim Montgomery. All right, we're going to shift gears a little bit today and go back to 1995. And on this day, Mike Tyson, who was recently released from prison that March of 1995, was fighting his second comeback fight after beating Peter McNeely. Remember that fight? In August. Peter McNeely came out and he talked a good game, but got knocked out in like 90 seconds. So Mike Tyson had this fight scheduled. He was supposed to fight Buster Mathis Jr. November 4th at the MGM Grand out in Vegas, but he broke his thumb during training, and they moved the fight to December 16th. They had to move it to Atlantic City. Well, Don King, the promoter of the fight, was suspended at the time in Atlantic City, so wasn't allowed. And I forget the details around whether AC said, no, you're not allowed to put this fight on in AC, or because he was suspended, he said, all right, we're not doing it in AC. But either way, they moved it to the Spectrum, and it was also on free TV. It was on Fox, not pay-per-view or anything like that. All said and done, Mike Tyson got $10 million for this fight. Buster Mathis, $600,000. So despite being in jail for a few years and really it's only his second comeback fight, Mike Tyson was still a huge draw, making $10 million for this fight in 1995. When the fight started, after a slow start, Buster Mathis was playing good defense. So if you've ever played Mike Tyson's Punch-Out on Nintendo, you know early on the way to beat Mike Tyson is to play good defense and not get hit. And that's what Buster Mathis was able to do for the first 2 rounds in this fight. And then the third round happened. And Mike Tyson, whether he was getting frustrated, whether he was shaking off the rust or what, had a series of punches followed by back-to-back uppercuts that would eventually just knock out Buster Mathis. Tyson eventually, if you remember, would become the heavyweight champion again until he lost to Evander Holyfield, setting up the rematch in which my dad to this day still laughs because that rematch was the day of my graduation party. We had talked him into getting the pay-per-view, and Tyson, the fight stopped early because he literally bit off Evander Holyfield's ear. My dad's laughing to the bank with his $40 or whatever it was to pay for the pay-per-view. But on this day in 1995 is Mike Tyson knocking out Buster Mathis in the third round at the Spectrum in a weird series of events that led that fight from going from Las Vegas to Atlantic City to South Philly. The Spectrum was no stranger to fights, though. Joe Frazier fought there, obviously, to Mike Tyson, Marvin Hagler, Roberto Duran. So they had a lot of fights early on. And then as Atlantic City got bigger as a resort town, most of the fights that used to take place at the Spectrum started going down to Atlantic City. But on this day, 1995, perhaps the biggest fight to ever take place at the Spectrum happened as Mike Tyson knocked out Buster Mathis Jr. in the third round of their fight. All right, today we continue our Philly sports advent calendar. We open the door, and God, I got to get a producer so I can have sound effects there. And we have the USFL's Philadelphia Stars, the original version of the Philadelphia Stars. They were owned by Miles Tannenbaum, coached by one of my all-time favorite coaches, and with his quotes, Jim Mora. Yes, the playoffs, Jim Mora. Playoffs? Don't talk to me about playoffs. He coached in Philly for the Philadelphia Stars. Their colors were crimson, old gold, and white, very 49ers-like. And the USFL, the first couple of years of its existence, played in the spring, so they weren't in direct competition with the NFL. The Stars played in Philadelphia those 2 years, 83 and 84. 1983, they played at the Vet for all of their games except for the playoff game that had to be moved down to Franklin Field, and I believe that was due to a Phillies conflict. They lost in the championship that first year to the Michigan Panthers, 24-22. They had what was known as the doghouse defense, led by linebacker Sam Mills. Yes, the same Sam Mills who, despite his short size, is a Hall of Famer, played with the Saints and the Panthers. 1984, they moved 100% to Franklin Field due to conflicts with the Phillies. They went 16-2, won the USFL championship. And this is, I think, the key part. They were one of the highest drawing teams in the USFL. They averaged 28,000 fans that year in 1984, which was pretty damn impressive. In 1985, though, they were forced to move to Baltimore and I don't want to turn this into a political, but Donald Trump led a movement for the USFL to play in fall in direct competition with the NFL, despite having the success they had playing in the spring. Obviously, the other teams, they had good players. They were drawing fans. Trump, by the way, was the owner of the New York, New Jersey Generals, I believe they were. They were having success, but of course, this has nothing to do with politics, more of his business acuity. But Donald Trump, of course, just couldn't leave well enough alone and grow the league. But enough about that. And despite how popular the Stars were in Philly, they had to move because at the Vet, the Phillies were playing there in the fall. They were playing so the USFL, I believe, were playing on Saturdays. So at the Vet, the Phillies had whatever it was set up. The Stars would have to open the season in '85 with a long road trip. And then if the Phillies went to the World Series, because actually the Phillies weren't bad in '86, it's just the Mets were that good in '86. So the Stars basically would be on the road until November. They couldn't play at Franklin Field because University of Penn played on Saturdays at Franklin Field. The JFK Stadium was an option, the old municipal stadium there in South Philly, but it was just too old and needed a ton of work. Plus, it seated 100,000 people, which would have been way too much for the 28,000 that would come to a USFL Philadelphia Stars game. Think about like a Temple football game at the Link now. It would have looked a lot like that. So, unfortunately, the Stars had to move to Baltimore for the '85 season. The irony of it is that the Eagles were not very good at that time, and the Stars likely would have outdrew the Eagles during that '85 season. And theoretically had a chance to force the Eagles out of Philadelphia, which almost did happen anyway when Leonard Tost almost took the team to Arizona. So it's just one of those strange things that, like, if Donald Trump didn't want to go into, if he would have just left it well enough alone for another couple years, we might not have the Eagles in Philly right now. And if you want more on the Eagles moving to Arizona, I do have a Back to the Future episode I did a while back on the move that almost happened. But the USFL Philadelphia Stars were ready to overtake the Eagles as the premier dominant football team in Philadelphia. And then because of going up against the NFL and everything, the league ultimately folded. It did come back. The USFL reboot is still happening. Philadelphia Stars are back, original uniforms, but they play in Detroit, which the league, for whatever reason, I don't know why. I guess it's a money thing, and eventually they're looking to grow. But the Philadelphia Stars now play in Detroit. But today's Advent Calendar gift to you was the original Philadelphia Stars, who won the championship in Philly, with first Philadelphia football championship in 1984 since 1960. Almost ran the Eagles out of town had Donald Trump not made a bonehead move of going up against the NFL at the time. USFL did have a good thing going. It's just that, man, it would have been, it's crazy to think about how close the Eagles actually did. So like I said, go check out that Back to the Future archive episode as well. Check out the one we did on Herb McGee this week is also. But today's Philadelphia Sports Advent Calendar gift is the original Philadelphia Stars of the USFL. On this day in 1995, Mike Tyson beat Buster Mathis, I'll get it out, in a third-round knockout at the Spectrum. Let me know what you think about Hurst doing the the falling fumble drill. 267-495-8531 to get through on the text and voice line. Also, while you're at it, let me know what you think about Darius Slay's comment. Is he delusional? Let me know. Also, let me know about Daryl Morey. Might as well just let's get this text and voice line going. But question of the day: what are your thoughts on Hurts' fumble drill? Let me know also about Darius Slay and Daryl Morey. I think you got to give him a chance to finish this thing out. I'm excited at where this team is heading for the first time in a long while. All right, it's going to be kind of a chilly day. Rain's coming in later, so get out early and enjoy yourselves. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.